Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Hopefully this week we've got some different stuff for you. I know we've got some parts coming in. Hopefully we can get those in and get them ready for paint. And I have a sneaky suspicion that a lot of this week is going to be involving more sanding, cleaning, and all the stuff that I hate. But this is kind of like the part of a project where it's like you're an athlete and you're training to run a marathon. This is the part where you just gotta push through the pain.
Right, because dry sanding an engine bay in the comfort of your air-conditioned garage with food and drink readily available is exactly the same as running 26.2 miles with no brakes in the hot sun.
You don't like it and you dread working on it, but you know that you gotta get through it or you're never gonna find your finished product. So, it's just part of the job. We gotta do some more cleaning and sanding and all that, and hopefully after this episode, I think I might have said this on the last episode, we will be done with all that and we'll be painting. Well, we also got this package in the mail today. Let's see what we got here. Okay, so braces are really nice shape. Have to sandblast and paint them. They are actually supposed to be painted. Not sure if those are factory holes there or if they're supposed to be holes there or not. I'll have to find out. If they aren't. Yeah, they are. They're on both sides. Okay. So those look really nice. These, of course, somebody had to drill out of the Mustang that they came on, so I'm gonna have to do some getting that bend out of it, making sure I'm sure it's supposed to be a nice curve like that. That's not easy, so I'm gonna have to get all that right. Looks like there's whatever hit there creased it right here a little bit. I'll get all that straight, and then I'll have to weld up these parts where they cut out, trying to drill out the spot welds, and sandblast and paint those, weld them back on. So guys, today I'm going to work on trying to get these new braces and tabs straightened out so that I can get them welded back into the car. I'll use some different things to hammer them on to try to get the right curves and flatness and all that stuff. I use this a lot. This is like a counterweight that came off of a treadmill, believe it or not. It's a heavy duty piece of round steel, and I've used that thing lots and lots of times to get good right curves on metal that's been beat and bent. So what I have to do is try to get both sides to where they lay flat on these shock towers. So you can see this one's not real bad. It won't take long to get it, I don't think, but the other side's worse. So I'll beat around on them and we'll see how they look. Okay, so I've got these mostly beat back into shape. Here is the driver's side. That fits pretty good. And you can kind of see where the old original spot welds were. This other one was a little bit more of a pain. I've got it close. And these things aren't exactly the same on both sides either. So they made them a little bit different. And once I get, I'll have to get some bolts to stick in there just to mock it up to see, when I go over to the firewall back to this, I'll get all the bolts put in there, make sure it's going to line up right, and I might have to beat on it some more, but that's close for now. It's good enough to start sandblasting. So we'll sandblast those and the braces, and then we'll do some test fitting once I get some bolts, because I don't have the right size bolts to mock it up, and then we'll do that and weld the tabs on. Well, I hope and I think that is the last of the sandblasting I have to do. So there's the braces and the tabs blasted and ready for paint. And I think what I'm going to do is come over here and just kind of look at this engine bay. If you open the hood and you look at the engine, what are you going to see of the engine bay like that's in your face kind of? I think the shock towers really show up well. Those braces I just showed you, the shock tower tops, maybe these flat areas up here. I've sanded it all down with the 320, but there's still some areas that are just kind of rough from where it's like you can see some of the primer, and it feels pretty smooth. But when I use that paint that I've got, that lacquer type paint, it kind of shows all the texture underneath that. So I want to get that a little bit smoother. I think I'm gonna maybe on the shock towers try to grind that down with this new pads that I've got here, a little 2-inch abrasive pad that's just made to take paint off. I might try to get down to bare metal on those and get those just really smooth. And then maybe this top, you know, here in this area up in here, just parts that are really going to be able to be seen easily when the hood's open. And then all that area back in that corner, just kind of continue to finish cleaning that up a little bit. And then I need to get it outside and just wash it, get it all this dirt and sanding dust off of it. And then I also have to, before I do that, I need to do this little lip in here that I'm going to have to redo, get it scuffed up.
2,000 years later.
I've got it all about as smooth as I can get it, I think. It just seems like you're never done. You think you're finished in one spot and you'll find another spot and it just goes on forever. So I think I'm done. What I'm going to do is push this thing outside, and I still found some areas that's got some like grease way back up in the behind all that stuff. And so I'm going to use a long brush on a rod and use some Dawn dish soap because I want to take grease out of my way.
Dawn dish soap, taking grease out of your way since 1973.
This is not a paid product placement for Dawn dish soap or any of its affiliates.
And get it all down in there and just clean everything I can as well as I can. And then let it dry and then come back in, and then I'll take these bolts off the fenders and sand those, and I'll have to rinse it again. But if I get all the grease out of the way, then I can do a final check, make sure there's no place I missed on the sanding. So that's the plan.
Twelve seconds later.
All right, I think that I got all of the grease and dirt. Okay, so it's the next day after we got the engine bay all washed and cleaned. Check this out. Look at all the surface rust that came back on the steering box and the master cylinder overnight. So somehow I've got those two things were actually originally natural, like they weren't treated with anything. on the original 66. They weren't spray painted black or anything. They were just cast iron. So I got to figure out how to treat them to where they're not gonna get surface rust on them again. A couple options are I can use the Manifold dressing, and that looks like that's a really nice looking color. I don't know if it looks natural enough, and also I don't know if the heat, going through the manifold cures that stuff. Well, there's not going to be heat on the steering box or on the master cylinder, so I'm not sure how long it will last. But I need to go ahead and get that surface rust back off with a Dremel, and then either decide to do that or I'm going to have to clear coat it or something, but I'll think some more about that. In the meantime, I need to go ahead and spray the top of these towers over here and over here with some weld through primer to get ready for the that tab that I've got to weld on there. And also we'll spray underneath the side, underneath these tabs right here on this underneath where it's going to be welded. So I'm going to do that done and get it where it's dry before I ever try to weld it on. And then I'm going to also dry fit these braces on there to make sure everything is lining up fit well before I start doing that. Alright, I got this lip done and all the bolts out and sandblasted. I went ahead and stuck one back in there to just hold everything where it was so it'd be lined up correctly still. And I found the date code, original Mustang fender. So now it's time to move on to that part up above the firewall and weld in those 4 holes and start sanding that. Alright, so all these lips and edges are done of the inside of the engine bay here. So what I'll do is order some primer that's especially for automotive uses that'll work with any kind of paint. I'm gonna go in there and prime all these bare spots that I had to grind these down because those were where the bolts were and there was rust build up around all those. That's where the rubber pad was, and then the rest of these were all bolt holes. And if you ever wondered, these little triangular shaped things show that these are original 66 fenders. Reproduction ones didn't have those little triangular lifted spots, and plus there's a date code. So that paint primer stuff should come in like next week, and we'll get those primed. That'll be the next thing we do is tape, all this off, get plastic put everywhere after we wash it, of course, and then we'll prime those in and paint, and then we'll start working on black. Well, guys, thanks for hanging with me through this episode. Man, I'm glad it's over. And hopefully that is the last time we're going to be doing any of that kind of stuff. So the engine bay is 95% ready. Anything else I do, I'm going to do off camera before we paint. I've got to get a little bit of a primer that comes in that I'm going to be using on these bare spots on the fender lips there. And then everything else is just going to be taping stuff up, and I'm going to have to take it back out and wash it again, get all the sand and stuff off of it again one final time, and finish sandblasting some bolts and fasteners, and put those in the manganese solution, and then we will be ready to paint. So hopefully that will be on the next episode. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed the episode, give us a thumbs up and send a link to your friends, and subscribe. Thanks.
And always remember, don't retire it if you can rebuild it. See you guys next week. Thanks so much, guys, for tuning in and watching this week's episode of Rebuild It. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any awesome content. Have a good one.